Once you've finished sewing your mouse together and you've given him a face and a loop and everything, the next step is to make him some breeches to start getting him dressed. So you need the back and front pieces of the breeches, and the first thing we're going to do is make a hole for the tail to go through the back piece. So we're going to do this just like for the tail on the back body piece. So you push your needle through the tail marker, wiggle it around a bit to make the hole a bit bigger, and then take your scissors and carefully just enlarge the hole so it's big enough to force through the tail. Remember, you want it to be a tight fit because, oh, I've started on one side and carried on the other. If you make a hole that's too big now, then the tail will kind of flap around and gape through. You don't want that. You want to really have to force it through. So I'm just going to snip off a bit of that excess fluff, and then I'm going to push it through, or when I come to put the trousers on him, I will push the tail through from the side that had the mark on it. It doesn't really matter either way because the trousers are pretty much the same front and back. But the next thing I'm going to do is lay the back piece of the breeches on the table, and then I'm going to layer the front piece over the top of them. And all we're going to do is using the same technique, the blanket stitch technique, as we used to sew the body seams, we are going to sew the breeches together using a single strand folded over, so 2 strands in the needle effectively, of this cream thread, and you want about 1 metre, which is 2 arms width, 1, 2, which I think is 60 inches. Separate out 1 strand. Oh, that's 2 there. Fold it in half. And thread it through your needle. I'm just going to do that off the camera because I can't see what I'm doing otherwise. And then it doesn't matter which seam you do first, we basically need to join this seam on the outside and the seam on this side, and then we need to do 1 continuous seam around the inner leg. So I'm going to start, you can pin this together or hold it together with some wonder clips, I'm not going to bother. So I'm just going to start at the bottom, and you're doing it exactly the same as you did the body, so very small blanket stitches, knotless loop to start. And again, the seams are on the outside, just like they were for the body. So I'm going to continue, I'm going to sew along this seam, end it at the top, sew along this seam, end it again. You can do from top to bottom or bottom to top, doesn't matter. And then I'm going to go round and do that inner leg seam all in one go, and I'll come back to you when I've done that. Okay, so you will see I have sewn these trousers together, and I've got the 1 seam on the outside, or 2 seams, 1 on each outside edge, and then 1 continuous seam around the middle here. I've left the top open and the bottom of the legs open so that you can get the feet through there. So all we need to do now is put them on our mouse. So the back is the piece with the hole in, obviously, and with the higher side, and it will take a little bit of cajoling. So the first thing you need to do is take the tail and squeeze it through this hole. Remember, it will take quite a lot of squeezing. Just squish it through. There we go. And then once that's poked down a little bit, you can manoeuvre the tail as much as you need to get it all in there. And you pop his legs in there. And this is where you are going to need your hemostat, because his trousers are quite tight. So I like to hold it over the seams because they're stronger, and just kind of give them a tug. Actually, let's do it a different way. I'm just trying to remember how I dressed him before. So we're going to put the hemostat in the end of his trousers, grab one little foot and pull, and then do the same on the other side. It's tricky to get him into them in the first place, but they do go on, I promise you. And then just keep kind of pulling and wiggling until they're all the way up. If you've ever had a pair of skinny jeans you're determined to get into and you've maybe eaten a bit too much, you'll know this feeling. And then once you've got those toes peeping out, then you can pull from the top. So hold on to the seam, and with your hemostat, hold on to the foot with your other hand and just pull them up. I think I've stuffed this mouse a bit more than usual because he's quite tubby. Okay, and then just kind of pull them about until you're happy with where they are. I think they can probably come up a little bit more. There we go, lovely. And now we just need a jacket.